wing. Perhaps I can get through to her, make her realise the baby isn't there.
If you pander to her, she'll only get worse.
It's worth a try. Come along, Rosie.
I reckon that halfway house sounds pretty good.
Uh-huh.
You know, well, it's better than being in here. And I could learn typing.
Yeah, I can just see you sitting on your boss's knee now, Lizzie.
Yeah. If it doesn't happen soon, it'll be too late for that.
It's a pity they gave up the typing courses in here. You could have got a head start.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, you going to tell us, or do I guess in one? Vera, right?
I have never, in all my born days, ever met anyone so mean and vicious and hard.
And stupid.
Well, she's not stupid. She knows exactly what she's doing. So help me, one of these days...
You what?
Well, I tell you, Bea, she's going to push someone too far.
Yeah, well, you better make sure it's not you. You want to be out by Christmas, remember? Besides, not all her fault, you know.
What?
Well, when they were making her, they got the ingredients all wrong. Instead of putting in sugar and spice and all things nice, they chucked in vinegar and malice and all things callous. Oh, hello, Vera. We were just wondering what sort of kid you must have been.
You were a kid once, weren't you, Miss Bennett?
Don't you ever go to another officer behind my back again, O'Connell. Well, it was hardly behind your back, Miss Bennett. And at least Mrs. Jackson's willing to listen.
If that girl needs help, like you say, then all the more reason she shouldn't be around children.
You've got a thing against mothers, haven't you? Why do you hate them so much? Did you get a raw deal from yours or something?
I'd like to speak to the governor, Miss Bennett.
What about?
It's private.
Then keep it to yourself. Hey, Pat, you're getting nearly as good as me.
I know it sounds a lifetime away, but Sam's foster parents will be allowed to bring him in to visit you. You will see him again, and soon.
He'll forget me.
No, he won't. And he will be properly looked after.
I'll never get him back.
Yes, you will. Hey, but you've got to keep a grip on yourself. Breaking down isn't going to help you or Sam. You've got to prove that you're able to look after Sam when you're out. Otherwise, you could lose him. And that's what happened to my mother. Don't let it happen to you.
Your mother?
You know I was born in prison. And like Sam, I was taken away when I was 1 too. But that was during the war. Well, I was sent to an orphanage. Things were much stricter in those days, and I didn't see my mother until she was released. By then I was 6. It was too late for her. She wasn't fit to be a mother. Well, that's what they said. She used to visit me every Sunday. I used to live for those Sundays.
What happened to her?
Well, one day she just didn't arrive. Found out 2 years later she died.
Oh, didn't they tell you?
Probably thought it was best I didn't know.
Haven't you ever had a home, Mrs. Jackson?
Well, by then I was 12. It was a bit late to be adopted.
Well, what about your dad?
He was killed in the war. What are you doing in here?
I just brought some clean nappies.
Well, hurry up then.
Doreen, I'm trying to work.
I'm not stopping you.
Can't you do that quietly? Why don't you practice your typing?
What good's that going to do me? Even if I could do 100 words a minute, nobody's going to give me a job.
Well, you'll never find out if you don't try.
Yeah? Well, I don't want to.
You'll only be hurting yourself, no one else. Why don't you go for a walk?
No.
Well, then stop being a nuisance.
You just want to get rid of me.
Oh, go and try on one of your new dresses. It might make you feel better.
I want to wear my own things and not something that's been handed out to me to buy me off.
But I want to stay here.
Look, it's best to keep away from reminders for a while. Perhaps in another week we'll look at it again. But in the meantime, you keep as busy as possible. All right?
You ought to keep that nutcase out of here, Mrs. Jackson. She's liable to do anything.
I'm not a nutcase.
No, you're a junkie. Same thing.
I'm cured, Latham.
Once a junkie, always a junkie.
Go to the laundry, Rosie. Least I know who Sam's father is. Whore!
You reckon they'd let a junkie keep her kid? Ha!
You're never happy unless you're destroying, are you, Latham?
Only told her the truth. That's what they locked her up for, wasn't it? Being a junkie.
Whatever she's done, she'll make a darn sight better mother than you'll ever be.
Yeah. Yeah, you know it all, don't you, Mrs. Jackson?
You don't fool me, Latham. The only reason you're going to have that baby is because you'll have a much easier time in here.
Yeah. Sure.
You won't bat an eyelid when they take it away from you.
You know nothing about me.
And that's the way I want to keep it.
Well, let me tell you something for a change. I'm going to have this kid, and I'm going to keep it. But if it is taken away from me, I'm not giving you or anyone else the satisfaction of seeing me break down.
I don't imagine you would.
Because when I do get out, I'm going to get it back. Bit different to your mother, isn't it, Mrs. Jackson?
Shut up.
I'm going to have this kid, and I don't give a stuff if you believe me or not.
You couldn't stop thinking about yourself long enough to be a mother.
You know so much about mothers, don't you? You want to know about mine?
I'm not interested.
She was a drunk, a lush.
Out of my way.
She wasn't sober for more than 2 minutes. Couldn't even see me old man in slipping into my room. You try keeping your father out of your bed when you're 13. I went to her once for help, when I was too scared to even lock the door. Scared of what he might do to me. Yeah, I went to her for help. You know what she said? Have a drink. A drink. And she wrote herself off. So don't you go telling me about mothers and fathers and how to bring up a kid, because I've been there. And no kid of mine's ever going to feel she hasn't got a mother.
Don't you think that's being a bit childish? That typewriter cost a lot of money, Doreen. If you're not going to use it properly, then... Doreen!
Well, it's all her fault.
What's her fault?
Everything.
That's right. You go ahead and blame her for everything. You were doing all right until you found out she was your mother. Now you're acting like a spoiled brat.
Yeah, well, I never asked her for nothing.
So she wanted to help you. So what? She was trying to make up for something that happened over 20 years ago.
And I bet it made her feel real good thinking she can buy me off with stupid presents.
You don't know anything about her.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to know. She never cared about me. Why else wouldn't she tell me who she was?
She just couldn't, that's all.
Yeah, and I know why. She doesn't think I'm good enough for her.
And you're doing everything to prove she's right. If that's what she thought.
Too bloody right.
You want a few home truths? You've got it. Your mother didn't want you to find out because she didn't want to hurt you. And not for the reasons you think. She's been given a few weeks to live, Doreen. If she's lucky, a few months. She didn't want you to have to go through losing her again.
My dear Doreen, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I can only pray that after reading this, you might one day understand. Perhaps if I'd been a stronger person 20 years ago.
Come in.
Birdsworth's outside. She's been plaguing me all morning. Says she's heard something that you ought to know.
Oh?
Well, she wouldn't tell me what it was, but it could be important.
Well, it's not like her to pass on information. You'd better show her in.